We've now come about a half a mile. We're on Santa Ana Street right now, and driving over here, Cynthia, you were talking about those early grape days here in Anaheim.
That's right. We had a group of German intellectuals that were living in San Francisco and very unhappy with the debauched situation of the lifestyle in San Francisco during
When was this?
This was the gold rush.
So it was pretty debauched up there.
It wasn't pretty. And so they formed the Los Angeles Vineyard Society and hired surveyor George Hansen to find them a location that was ideally suited to growing grapes.
So he found present-day Anaheim, and this whole group of Germans moved down here from San Francisco and started growing grapes.
That's right. They bought the land from Ontiveros, who laughingly sold it to them, saying that it couldn't support a goat.
But it supported grapes for a long time.
Supported them to the point that their income was the equivalent of a six-figure income in today's society.
Wow.
They were doing very well.
Okay, that's grapes, but you've brought us to an orange grove. Why haven't you brought me to a vineyard?
Because we don't have our vineyards anymore. Unfortunately, a grape blight wiped everything out in the late 1800s.
A grape blight?
A grape blight, Pierce's disease, that wiped everything out, and so they switched over to oranges in a hurry as a cash crop.
Wow, so Anaheim became an orange growing area. It was always rich in agriculture, wasn't it?
That's right. We're Santa Ana River bottom, and we still grow fabulous things. My husband grows incredible tomatoes in
the backyard.
In the backyard, yeah.
All right, but oranges were here, and was this one of the first places they grew oranges in Orange County?
They were brought into Orange County pretty much at the same time. All of the local communities got their orange shipments at the same time, but it was Orange County before there were oranges.
Wow, okay, but now look at this. This is all that's left of the orange history in Anaheim. Just this is just an acre or two right here, and it's fenced off, and it looks to me like it's in pretty bad condition. It might not be here very long.
That's right. This is, to my knowledge, the last producing orange grove left in Anaheim. It's privately owned by the Pressel family, and they are a very old, not quite pioneer family, but very, very early, and it's always been in the same family.
Wow, but this is the last remaining orange grove in the city of Anaheim.
To my knowledge, yes, and unfortunately it does look like the oranges are in quick decline, so we might not be able to keep them.
Well, that's an interesting chapter, though, in the history of this city, the grape chapter, the orange chapter, and you said they grew other things here as well.
They had some walnuts and other cash crops, yes.
It was an agricultural town.
It really was. Up until just after World War II, it was all agriculture. We were a farming town.
Well, let's look at it before we move on. This is all that's left right here. Boy, driving down Santa Ana Street, you'd drive right past it and not know its historic significance, but there it is, the last remaining orange grove in the city of Anaheim. Look at this. Now we've come, again, not very far from that old orange grove, and Cynthia has brought us to this. Well, Cynthia, this is one of the most beautiful settings, one of the most beautiful parks I've seen anywhere, and this is one of the main parks here in the city of Anaheim.
We're very proud of our park. This is Pearson Park, founded in the 1920s.
Now, was this named after an early pioneer family, or?
No, originally it was City Park, and they renamed it for Charles Pearson, who was our longtime mayor in the 40s and 50s.
Sounds better than just calling it City Park.
Yeah, City Park
Now,
was a
how
boring
big
name.
is this? This is huge right here.
I think it's roughly 10 acres.
Uh-huh. Right in the middle of Anaheim.
Right. Our downtown was just the other side of the park there, and this was all Langenberger vineyard land before it was purchased.
See, we keep getting back to that agricultural history. This used to be all vineyards right here.
It was vineyards, and then it was oranges, and then it was purchased with a $100,000 bond approved by the people of Anaheim.
Well, thank goodness you've got this park right here, which is heavily used. It's this beautiful area, but we're not here to talk about just its natural beauty. We're here to Actually, we're going to start off by talking about this piece of sculpture right over here, which again, like so many things in Anaheim, is deceivingly historic. What are we looking at, Cynthia?
Well, Huell, what you're looking at is Orange County's oldest piece of public art anywhere in the county.
All right, now wait a minute. That needs to be repeated because that's significant. This is the oldest piece of public art anywhere in Orange County.
It is. It was a 1935 piece done by Eugene Kriegmeyer under the alphabet soup programs that were designed to put artists to work during the Depression.
Okay, now what are we looking at here? I don't recognize any of these people.
No, this is a stylized representation of agricultural workers coming back to our agricultural roots.
Absolutely. And I'm looking over your shoulder, and boy, when we drove up here, you went, first thing you said is, oh gosh, it's been tagged.
Unfortunately, like many cities, Anaheim is battling graffiti, but thankfully, because of the revenue stream that we get from the Disneyland Resort, you know, they represent well over 50% of our general fund income, so we were able to nearly double our code enforcement income to deal with graffiti issues.
So you're going to get somebody over here now to cover this up.
I can actually use Anaheim anytime. It's an email system, and they will have that dealt with probably within 24 hours.
And you mentioned Disneyland, because Disneyland is a part of Anaheim's recent history, but its recent history with Disneyland ties directly into its old history, because you said Disneyland's tax revenue that comes to the city is so important to the city today.
It is incredibly important. For every 2 police officers patrolling our streets, 1 is happily paid for by tourists who are visiting. So it's very important to us.
Now we're just looking at one side of this piece of sculpture. Let's walk around to the other side, because this is kind of interesting over here too. I know a little bit about this lady, Helena Majeska, who was a Polish actress who was very well known, very successful here in the United States, well actually all over the world back in the late 1800s. I had absolutely no idea that she was directly connected with Anaheim. I've been to the Majeska house out in Majeska Canyon, but that's pretty far away from Anaheim. I didn't know she ever lived here.
Actually, yes, she and some of her friends came to Anaheim in the 1870s with sort of a utopian, idealistic view of farming, and very quickly learned that it's very hard work, and realized that if she wasn't going to starve to death, she would need to go back onto the stage. And she learned English, went back on the stage, made her fortune, and then bought her home in Majeska Canyon called Arden that you visited. And while she was here, she actually befriended Mrs. Langenberger, Clementine Langenberger, who owned all of this land originally, and they became best friends and continued to visit even after she left Anaheim.
So Helena Majeska, what, came here and tried to make a go of it as a farmer?
They did, and in her diary she mentioned things like they had cows and no one to milk them because they really had no idea what farming was really about.
Well, it's kind of interesting that her statue is here, because I guarantee you she, in her own way, even though she was so popular at one time in this country, that is not a household word for people even in California, even in Anaheim today, Helena Majeska.
No, she's very much loved by Anaheim, but not very well known outside of our community.
Well, she was well known and well loved enough back in the 30s that they put her in this, what is now oldest piece of sculpture in Orange County.
Yes, it's a beautiful piece. We're very proud of it.
All right, let's get a look at that face right there. That's a representation of Helena Majeska right here in this beautiful Pearson Park. She lived here in Anaheim for a while, tried to make a go of it in farming, failed, went back on the road as an actress, and came back and built a home and lived here for years out in Majeska Canyon.